Welcome and thank you for joining me. This is Laurie of Laurie's Heirloom Sewing. And as you know, I am working on these little baskets to help organize my sewing space. So I have finished the embroidery on Cabbage. So anyway, what I plan to do is take it out of the hoop, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut around this circle right here. If you want my measurements, this outer and inner piece of fabric starts out as just one 20-inch by 20-inch, and I bought it on Amazon as part of a fat quarter bundle. And this buffalo check was part of the fat quarter bundle that this houndstooth was included in. Okay, and then you're going to need some heavy, so 20 by 20 heavy interfacing. And I wish I could tell you what this is. All I know is it is a non-fusible, so I just used some 505. I don't know that I would use fleece. It might be hard to apply this to something that has had fleece applied to it. So, and then you're going to need some type of an applique. My applique on the one that I have finished size measures 7, probably by 7. Yes, it is 7 by 7 circle. So what is that? 21 something? 24, probably about 24 inches circumference. But this doesn't have to be this size either. It can be smaller. It can be, you know, as long as you've got enough room on the top and the bottom to you know, accommodate your piece, then you'll be good. This one is going to be quite a bit smaller than this one. When I cut it out, it will be, it's trying to be 7.5. So when I fold it under, you know, and then do the folded under stitching, it will be even smaller. But the outer portion, you know, the bag itself will be basically the same size. 505 spray. And a sewing machine, scissors, probably something to measure with, pins. Now I'm just going to cut out on this circle using my fabric scissors, not my paper scissors. The reason I have my paper scissors over here is because this is very much a paper. It's not a fabric. Pin slipped. Okay, so I'm going to go press this. Okay, so I have attached the two layers, and I want to show you a tip or a trick or a hack, whatever you want to call it. So here, when you look through, you can see that there is a loop of thread. There's some thread behind these letters. And you're like, oh no. Just take a seam ripper and gently just pull. And then you might need to take your scissors. You can use rounded tip scissors if you want to. Just cut the interfacing without cutting through. You don't want to cut through your fabric. And then you can just remove these little bits of thread. And the the embroidery is not going to come unstitched because you've got interfacing that you will then need to go back and repress, but you can get those threads out if they are visible and are annoying. I had one or two that I started to cut out. This one is one of them that's not attached to anything because I wanted to be able to show you. So I just left him laying there even though he's not really attached to anything. So you just pull it out. And it will be stuck because your interfacing is sticky. So get it, where you want it, and then trim it carefully. Remove. See if you like what you see. I got one right above that B that's kind of bugging me. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is in the process of creating your embroidery, remember that you're going to be putting this interfacing on the back, and that might change, how you choose to finish off your stitch. If you know that it's going to be held in place really well, you might not feel the need to make big gobby knots underneath. One thing I wanted to mention about your embroidery, I almost did that on this one, is feel free to use beads and buttons and all kinds of things to decorate your embroidery with. I think it'd be really cute. And this is a great application because this isn't something like, a jacket or a sweater or a pair of jeans or something that's going to get washed a lot and maybe, kind of fall apart. So definitely, put some beads and buttons and things on the embroidery if that's what you would like to do. Alright, so I've just repressed the back to, get all that I just picked up, cut, and put back down. It's all back where it's supposed to be. We're going to work on this. So my piece of fabric is 20 and folded in half, so it's 10 this way. This is not that. I cut 1 inch off, so I have a 1/2 inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side for my seam allowance. I don't want to have this all, bunched up in my seam allowance. And there's a good distance between the bottom fold and the top. So I've left myself a little room where this is not going to be within the seam allowances. Okay, so to get this size, you simply fold your fat quarter in half. So you've got that 20 by 20 inch piece, and you could cut it from a piece of fabric. Fold it in half, and then on the fold, just go ahead and cut. Make sure that you've got a fold across the bottom if you want to do your little basket the way I'm doing mine. That, and then set this on top like this, so you have one on top of the other, and then bring your interfacing over and fold it in half. Right. Now what I'm going to do is make sure these are lined up. 2 by 2 template. Mark it out on my fabric. Okay, so basically now what I have is this will be the bottom of the bag on both sides. This is the outer, this is the lining, or this is the lining, or this is the outer and this is the lining, whichever you choose. But now we have to do the same thing to our interfacing. Alright, I'm going to make sure I'm in a straight stitch with the needle down engaged. I want it to be just a regular 2.5. Alright, I've got the thread color I want, and I'm just simply going to stitch around using the outside edge of my foot as my seam guide. Okay, so this right here is the outside edge of my sewing machine foot, and that's the seam guide. So the needle will go right down the middle, and I'm just going to keep that lined up with the raw edge of my little embroidery piece. You guys will not believe how much thread is in this little thread catcher already. Let's see if I can get it to... Now there is a little bit of cabbage in here, but just in a day, this is like the most delightful little handy thing I've ever had in my life. I love it. Alright, so the next step is to take your pins. I'll back you up where you can see. Okay. Now here we are. We've got these 2 rows of stitching. Now this is if you want to do this project the way I have done it. If you have a way that you want to do your own applique in your own method and manner, by all means, I would never tell you that this is the way, because this is not really the way to do any kind of applique. This is just my own little convoluted project, and the reason I'm doing it this way is because it's round. So I'm using this first line of stitching as a stay stitch to kind of keep everything together. The second line of stitching is just on the outside edge, and it's helping my fabric and my 2 layers of interfacing that I have fused on fold to the back the way I want it to fold to the back. You're not worried that I would be upset about that, because absolutely not. Okay, so I have this evil looking pinned round applique, almost ready piece of fabric, embroidered. I'm going to go press it, and when I come back I'm going to stitch it onto the fabric. Which of these 2 will be the outer, which one is going to be the outer and which one is going to be the lining? They are, as far as I can tell, they are identical. Undo that fold, and I think this time I'm going to do a zigzag stitch just around the outer edge, so it will be different than this one. I think I'd like to have that. Okay. And run over just a little bit the spot that I started. Alright, so here's my ribbon. It's just Offray. I'm going to make another little loop. That. I'm going to cross them over, and my first loop is going to go in and behind my second loop, and I'm going to pull just forward, backward, and then stop, and then cut my thread, dispose of my thread, Alright, put my machine back in the proper mode. Straight stitch. And then fold, let me back you up a bit. Oh, let's see. Like maybe physically back you up just a wee. Alright. Alright, so the next thing to do here is to turn your fabric so that it is right sides together like this. And here's another tip. You can go ahead and fold this top edge down like so. If you want to. And stitch just straight down this little side seam on both sides. And boxed corners, they're so easy. So you have this little V shape right here. This is considered a finished edge, and the side seam is considered a finished edge. So you've finished off the side and the bottom. In our case we have the fold, but it's finished. So we've got an unfinished corner. We're going to grab onto both unfinished corners and just pull apart, and then the bottom seam or the bottom fold and the side seam or the side fold are going to match up, and we're just going to stitch. And I'm using the side of my foot as my seam allowance, and I'm going to lock those stitches. Step is to just put your hands down inside and push out the corners of this, and sometimes you can take it to the ironing board and press the side that doesn't have the cut boxed corners that have been sewn, but I find that just taking a minute and finger press those little bottom edges is really all they ever need. So just kind of do it like that, and then you've got a nice square little box down in there. Now we're going to take this one and we're going to insert the one that we just made down inside of this, and that's why you don't want to turn it right side out. We're looking at the right side of it this way. Okay, now the outside bag has already been basically folded under, and the next step is to fold the lining to match. Trim off these threads. And there it is. Now another thing you can do is take this to the ironing board, and where your boxed corners are, just give it a press. I find doing that by hand is just as effective, and I don't really want to put my embroidery under the ironing board. I mean, under the iron. So there we have. I adore them. I think they are adorable. They work in my sewing room. I love how sturdy they are. 3 little embroidered thingies. Helpers. Thread catcher, cabbage catcher, and pin needle case. So that, my friends, brings us to the end of today's video. I hope that you found this project to be inspiring enough to give it a go. If you have a friend who sews and would like something like that, that would be a fun gift. Fun for you to make and fun for them to receive. If you are part of a group who are doing Zoom sew-alongs, I think that might be kind of fun. Because they're not very big, they honestly don't take very long. It's like this quick, easy little, just jump right in. And if you've already got your embroidery done, you could even put a piece of cross stitch on here. But if you've got your embroidery done, that's it. And earlier today I was thinking, you know, you could even do something like this size. You could have, you know, a square or a diamond. You could do somebody's initials. Although I prefer having the words that I need. This is for my thread, and this is for my cabbage. The thing about the cabbage is I can save it. If I need a little teeny tiny piece of fabric, boom, I know right where to go. So, but again, if you wanted to do something like this for someone who doesn't sew and wants something like that for their kitchen, you could make little picnic, put the silverware in one, the napkins in the other one. These little baskets have limitless possibilities. You could put one in your car. You could use it to hold garbage. Little plastic sacks, like if you have a used bread sack, sometimes that will work really well in a little thing about this size. And then you can just pull that out and throw it in the garbage, and this is safe from ruination. But anyway, so moving right along, I hope you enjoyed that. Moving right along, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video where I walked you through this one, and then we did a very quiet garden tour. I am going to go check to see if the yellow tigridia has bloomed. If it has, I will post a picture of it at the end of this video. I checked on it this morning. I did take a picture, and I'll show you what it looked like this morning. There it is. So in the morning light, it looks like it's a glowing magic wand, but this, I don't know why that came out so weird now that I look at it, but this is the flower part right here, and these are obviously the bud part of the leaf opening up. And oh, there's a better picture right there. I don't know what in the world is up with that one. But that's what it looked like this morning. It's getting very, very close. So I would almost bet that by the time I get this video edited, I will be able to add a picture of the open yellow tigridia for everyone who is following that saga with me. Again, have a wonderful day. Oh, I didn't do my normal thing in the beginning. So today is Tuesday, July the 28th of 2020. We are certainly coming up to the end of the month. It's been a long month. July is, just by virtue of the fact that there are 31 days. But, you know, we're coming up close to the end of it, and I'm hoping that we can all kind of make the best of our summer, what we have left. This is a memorable year, and I hope that you can make it a happy and memorable summer as we start that slow slide into fall. So please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. Comments are very important to me. That means that we're all connected in some way and encouraging in some way. I am delighted that I have 74 faithful dandelions. That means the world to me. I hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you in the next video.